We're going to look at some international relations theories now. So the first one is realism. And this is the view that essentially might is right. So basically, the world is anarchy, and that states do not necessarily tell the truth to each other, and they're not all aiming for a peaceful world. Instead, the world is competition. It's competition for cheap oil, for land, for control of sea routes, for instance. And what states almost always do is prioritize their interests. What they want is to secure their interests, what is best for their state. And obviously, you could argue democracy in some ways accentuates this, because if you want to be elected by your people, then you need to be able to say to your people, I have done what is best for us. The British Prime Minister would perhaps not be elected if they said, well, if you elect me again, then I'm going to do what is best for France, not for you. Clearly, in democracy, that is not always a very good strategy. And therefore, realism says that states will do what is best for them. And therefore, if everyone's doing what is best for them, who's going to have more power? Well, the people with bigger armies and with more economic power and things like this. Then there's liberalism, which I've got a photo of the UN there. Basically, the idea that it's not just who is most powerful, but actually if people speak to each other, if we have strong institutions, strong legal rules, we have democracy, we have, importantly, economic interdependence, then we will have peace. So let's think, for instance, liberals will say that if there is a pipeline that goes from Gulf states through Israel to Europe, for instance, which there essentially now is, it's nearly finished, I think, then that the fact that Arab states and Israel rely on that pipeline being open, they both benefit from it economically, therefore they are going to have much more incentive to have peace. In this case, there's obviously problems with that, such as the Suez Canal being closed for 5 years, even though both Egypt and Israel would have almost certainly benefited economically from it remaining open. But liberals, they think that economic interdependence and economic initiatives can help bring peace. Then there's constructivism, probably the most complicated of the four. But all it means is that ideas matter. Norms, identities, our psychology, they don't think the world is given. They don't think it's necessarily always true that countries will do what is best for them rationally or objectively, but instead we are humans who are driven by emotions and the ideas that we hold. So, for instance, most Jews, the majority of Jews in the world would identify as Zionists. I think if you look at the polling, I just simply the belief that there should be a state for Jews, or a sort of ancestral homeland, and therefore that's quite a good idea of a norm or an idea that is very important to Israelis, and therefore, and also Jews more widely around the world, and therefore that is a big factor, for instance, driving this. Or, for instance, the idea of intifada, of shaking off an oppressor, could be another idea that perhaps is more important in explaining why there can't be peace between these two sides than something like an economic factor.